Ugh, I'm starving.
We stopped for food 20 minutes ago.
You call that food?
Come on, Ben. Can't you try to appreciate the unique culture around you?
Your cousin is right, Ben. I mean, who knows when we'll get to have freshly roasted liverwurst again.
Maybe a cheeseburger doesn't sound so bad.
This fall is seeing a plethora of games based on kids' licenses, and publisher Outright Games is back at it with Ben 10 Power Trip. Developer PHL Collective takes the Cartoon Network hit and adapts it to the latest in a line of video game tie-ins. Is Ben 10 Power Trip an out-of-this-world hit, or does it fall flat? Let's dive right in and find out. Ben 10 Power Trip is the second video game tie-in of the 2016 Ben 10 reboot. Though I admittedly know very little of the source material, the game takes place during or after Season 3 based on the aliens at Ben's disposal. The game is the first open-world entry in the series, but that doesn't amount to much. The game's open world is rather bland and uninhabited, which makes doing anything outside of the main quest somewhat of a drag. Power Trip's premise is simple. There's an evil threat posed by one of the series' baddies, Hex, and Ben must help the citizens of the affected region to restore order and peace using his alien companions. Problem is, Hex has suppressed Ben's access to his aliens, so while he starts out with none, Ben must regain access to all 6 of his aliens throughout the course of the game. Each alien has a special ability or two that will help Ben throughout the course of the game. For example, Heat Blast has a double jump and can use fire to burn boxes or light torches, while Wrath can scale certain walls or Accelerate can grind on rails. In that sense, Ben 10 Power Trip plays somewhat like a Metroidvania. Early in the game, you may come across certain areas where a question mark appears over Ben's head. That means interacting with that object or area requires an alien Ben hasn't unlocked yet, so you'll have to remember to come back later once you've unlocked the requisite alien. This mechanic works well to give the player an incentive to return to explore that area later on. When unlocking new aliens, Ben enters a Void Rift and must complete a challenge tailored to that particular alien. For example, Heat Blast, the first alien you unlock, has a challenge that requires you to double jump, burn boxes to clear a path, and to light torches to open doors. Once you exit the Void Rift to complete the challenge, you can then transform Ben into that alien at any time. None of these challenges are particularly grueling or demanding, but that's coming from someone with more than 2.5 decades of gaming experience. This game, per the publisher, is targeted at children ages 6 to 10, so it's meant to be forgiving. On that note, combat in general is very lenient. Players are given plenty of health, and upgrades to attack, defense, and luck are plentiful. Players can switch between aliens at any time during combat, giving you plenty of leeway to change up your strategy if needed. Death imposes no penalty either. Dying during combat causes no lost progress as you respawn right where you died. And, aside from the final boss, enemy health levels remain where they were upon player death, meaning you can jump right back in and finish where you left off just moments before. These quality of life features are nice, but experienced action game players may find that it makes for an overly easy game. I'm frankly fine with all of that, but the problem I found with the game's combat is how it controls. Combat often feels floaty, where my button presses never felt timed very well. I would often find myself pressing the Y button 4 times for a light combo attack, only for 3 hits to land. Combat also feels neither responsive nor fluid. With few exceptions, you can't turn or move your character while executing a combo. This is particularly problematic when trying to maneuver your character mid-combo to attack multiple enemies, for example. Moreover, the combat audio feels somewhat lacking. When I land a hit on an enemy, I expect some kind of audible feedback, like a smack or a hit. Rather, no matter which alien I used, all that's heard is a sort of faint whoosh sound. It almost feels like this was missed during development or some kind of audio bug was present, but the fact that the issue remained throughout the entirety of my playthrough suggests it was a design decision. Combat also doesn't feel very meaningful when it comes to using the 6 different aliens. Sure, some aliens have weaker attacks that are faster and others are slower but more powerful, but the actual damage per second I was inflicting never felt any different no matter who I was battling with. Accelerate can deliver multiple rapid blows over time, but it doesn't deal any more or less damage than 4 arms' slower, more powerful swings. On one hand, this might be seen as a positive thing to encourage players to use each alien equally rather than favoring the strongest one. For me, however, aside from certain aliens having particular environmental abilities that proved useful during a combat scenario, I saw it as never feeling compelled to use one alien over another. Most of the time I just chose my favorite, Accelerate, and stuck with him because it really didn't matter in the end. Outside of combat, the majority of game time is spent speaking to the world's scarce inhabitants, accepting and completing quests, and exploring the decently sized open world. The first and third points here go hand in hand. While the game world is sizable, it feels particularly empty in terms of characters and locales with which to interact. There are some secrets to find and side quests to embark upon, but none of it feels truly compelling. Hell, even the main questline isn't particularly moving. It's mainly a vehicle to force the player throughout the largely uninteresting map. Most tasks are rote fetch quests or clear the enemies out of his dude's farm. This might have felt like standard fare in a comparable game from 2005, but today it just feels uninspired. And not only is the open world bland and full of repetition, but it's just not pretty to look at. Compared to the PC demo version I was able to play back in August, there is a significant downgrade from the PC to the Switch version. Granted, the PC version's visuals didn't break barriers by any means, but at least it smoothed out the jagged edges as seen in the Switch version. With all of these criticisms considered, it's important to remember that this is primarily a kids game. Will the 6 to 10-year-old demographic notice or even care about these shortcomings? Perhaps not, but if those same players are going into this expecting Fortnite levels of polish, they'll likely be disappointed. While Ben 10 Power Trip does incorporate some interesting design choices, such as Metroidvania-style backtracking and the ability to switch between aliens with very little restriction, it ultimately falls short by today's open-world standards. With a bland open world, repetitive quest design, a lackluster overall story, and significantly downgraded visuals on the Switch version, Ben 10 Power Trip is difficult to recommend to anyone who isn't a fan of the source material. I admit that I did experience some fun moments, but those moments were too few and far between. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this review, please check out some of our other reviews, previews, and videos, and be sure to like and subscribe to support us. For everything else Nintendo Switch, stick right here at SwitchJoy.